The main screen at Earth Command flickered to life. The room fell silent as everyone stared at the strange alien face that appeared. It had gray skin, 4 eyes, and what looked like small horns on its head. "People of Earth and all human colonies," the alien said in a deep voice. "I am War Commander Zex of the Vordax Empire. We have watched your kind for many years. Your species has been deemed unworthy to share this galaxy with us. Surrender now or face total destruction. You have 3 Earth days to decide." The screen went black. For 10 seconds, no one in the command center spoke. Admiral Helena Chen stood at the front of the room. She was a short woman with gray hair and sharp eyes that had seen 65 years of peace. She looked around at the 20 military leaders gathered there. Their faces showed shock, confusion, and fear. Then, Admiral Chen did something no one expected. She laughed. It started as a small chuckle, then grew into a full, hearty laugh that echoed in the quiet room. One by one, the other leaders began to smile too. "What's so funny, Admiral?" asked a young captain who had joined the military as a family tradition, never expecting to see actual conflict. Chen wiped a tear from her eye. "These poor fools. They have absolutely no idea what they've just done." General Rodriguez nodded. 3,000 years is a long time. They'd probably think we've forgotten how to fight. "But Admiral," said another officer, "we haven't fought a war in generations. Our weapons are mostly for show. Our ships haven't fired a shot in anger since the Battle of Proxima Centauri." Chen finished for him. "Yes, I know. But do you think we stopped developing weapons? Do you think we stopped training? Do you think the archives were sealed forever?" The room grew quiet again as her words sank in. "Call the president," Chen ordered. "Tell her to authorize Protocol Lazarus and send a message to all colonies. Tell them," she paused, thinking, "tell them to remember who we are." Within hours, the message had spread to all 17 human systems. On planets, moons, and space stations, people gathered around screens to hear the news. There had been peace for 3,000 years. Most living humans had never even seen a fight, let alone a war. Yet strangely, there was little panic. Instead, there was a sense of excitement. On Mars Colony, an old professor told his students about humanity's violent past. On Europa Station, the head engineer opened a sealed vault that housed weapons designs no one had built in centuries. On distant Titan, a group of farmers stared at the night sky and felt something stir in their blood. Something old and dangerous. 3 days later, Earth Command sent its answer to the Vordax Empire. The message was short. "We accept your declaration of war. Thank you for making life interesting again." The game had begun, and humanity was ready to play. Dr. Sanjay Patel stood in front of the massive metal door built into the side of the mountain. Snow fell gently around him as cold wind blew through the Himalayan peaks. He checked his watch. The team was late. "Sorry for the delay, Doctor," called a voice. Sanjay turned to see Captain Lin and her security team trudging through the snow toward him. "The storm slowed us down," Lin explained. She handed him a small black device. "This is from Admiral Chen herself. The activation codes for the archives." Sanjay nodded and faced the door. Nobody had opened it in over 500 years. He placed his hand on the scanner and spoke clearly. "Dr. Sanjay Patel, Chief Historian of Earth Command. Authorization. Lazarus Protocol." He inserted the black device into a slot beside the scanner. Lights flashed green, and a deep rumbling sound came from inside the mountain. Slowly, the massive door began to open. "What exactly is in there?" Captain Lin asked, her breath visible in the cold air. "Our past," Sanjay replied simply. "The part we chose to lock away." They walked inside, and lights automatically flickered on, revealing a vast chamber carved into the mountain. The room was filled with rows of strange machines, weapons, and what looked like sleeping pods. "These are the war archives," Sanjay explained as they walked deeper inside. When humanity chose peace 3,000 years ago, we didn't destroy our weapons or forget how to fight. We just put it all away, like storing dangerous toys we hope never to need again. He stopped in front of one of the sleeping pods. Inside was what looked like a woman, but her skin had a slight metallic sheen. "And this?" asked Lynn, pointing at the pod. "This is HFY, the most advanced military AI ever created. She was modeled after General Athena Cruz, the strategist who ended the last war. When peace was declared, she chose to be preserved here rather than reprogrammed." Sanjay pressed several buttons on the pod. Steam hissed out as the front panel slid open. The woman's eyes snapped open, bright silver eyes that seemed to take in everything at once. "System activation complete," the AI said in a smooth voice. "HFY online. Current status." "Hello, HFY," Sanjay said. "I'm afraid we need your help. Earth faces its first existential threat in 3 millennia. The Vordax Empire has declared war on humanity." HFY stepped out of the pod and stretched as if waking from a long sleep. She looked around the room, her eyes scanning the ancient weapons and technology. "How long has it been?" she asked. 3,027 years since your last activation," Sanjay replied. To everyone's surprise, HFY smiled. "And how are the humans responding to this threat?" "Fear. Panic." "Actually," Captain Lin said, "our leaders laughed when they got the threat. Admiral Chen said it was time to remember who we really are." HFY's smile grew wider. "Perfect. Humans always did perform best when they had something to prove." She walked to a large console and placed her hand on it. The entire archive suddenly hummed to life, machines powering up all around them. "Well then," the AI said, her silver eyes gleaming with anticipation, "let's show these Vordax why humanity chose peace. Not because we had to, but because the alternative was too frightening for the rest of the galaxy." The sun was setting over the wheat fields of New Eden, painting the sky orange and red. Eliza Rye's wiped sweat from her forehead as she checked the irrigation system for her tomato crop. At 32, she had never known anything but farming and peace. Her dog Rusty suddenly barked, alerting her to a vehicle approaching. A sleek black shuttle landed at the edge of her property, kicking up dust. 3 people in uniform stepped out. Ms. Eliza Reyes, a tall woman, called out, "I'm Major Sarah Wong from Earth Command. We need to speak with you urgently." Eliza frowned. "Whatever you're selling, I'm not interested." "We're not selling anything," Major Wong said as they walked closer. "We're here because of your family name. Specifically, your great-great-great-grandmother, General Maria Reyes." Eliza blinked in surprise. "The war hero? That was thousands of years ago. What does that have to do with me?" "Everything," replied an older man with the group. "I'm Dr. Marcus Klein. Are you aware of genetic memory technology, Ms. Reyes?" She shook her head. "It allows people to temporarily access the skills and experiences of their ancestors," he explained. "It works best with direct bloodlines, and yours is remarkably pure. You are the most direct living descendant of General Maria Reyes, the Hammer of Mars herself." Eliza laughed. "You must be joking. I grow tomatoes. I've never even been in a fight in my life." "That's exactly why we're here," Major Wong said. "The Vordax Empire has declared war on humanity. We need your help." "My help? I'm a farmer." Dr. Klein held up a small device. "This will activate the dormant genetic memory in your cells. It won't change who you are, but it will give you access to your ancestors' combat skills and tactical knowledge." Eliza stepped back. "No way. Find someone else." "There is no one else with your genetic connection," Major Wong said softly. "We wouldn't ask if Earth wasn't in danger." Eliza looked at her fields, at the peaceful life she had built. Then she looked at the sky, imagining alien ships that would destroy everything she loved. "Fine," she said finally. "But just for a minute. I want to see if this even works." Dr. Klein pressed the device against her arm. It made a soft clicking sound. For a moment, nothing happened. Then Eliza gasped as her mind filled with images, knowledge, and memories that weren't her own. Her posture changed instantly. Her back straightened, her feet shifted to a balanced stance, and her eyes narrowed as they scanned the area with military precision. "Wow," whispered one of the officers. "Ms. Reyes." Major Wong asked carefully, "How do you feel?" Eliza's eyes, now sharp and focused, looked at the visitors. When she spoke, her voice had a new edge of authority. "The genetic memory integration is working," she said, sounding both like herself and someone else. "I'm still Eliza, but I can access Maria's combat skills now." She flexed her hands, feeling new strength and confidence. "This is strange," she continued, a small smile forming on her face. "I still know how to grow tomatoes, but now I also know 14 ways to disable an enemy with my bare hands." She picked up a farming tool and twirled it expertly like a weapon. "Well," Eliza said, looking toward the stars, "it seems I have a new job. When do we start?" The massive Vordax warship, Deathbringer, dropped out of hyperspace near Titan, Saturn's largest moon. It was followed by 20 smaller attack ships, all bristling with weapons. From the command bridge, Supreme Warlock Scifi watched the human colony through the main view screen. Titan was beautiful. Domed cities glittered under the dim sunlight, and ships moved peacefully between orbital stations. 3,000 humans lived there, mining valuable minerals and studying Saturn's rings. "Pathetic," Scifi said to his warriors. The Vordax commander stood 8 feet tall with gray skin and 4 yellow eyes. His battle armor was decorated with trophies from conquered worlds. 3,000 years without war has made them soft. They will beg for mercy when they see our might. His second in command, Officer Grask, looked nervous. "Supreme Warlock, our scouts report that the humans have not fled. They are evacuating in an orderly manner." "Of course they are," Scifi laughed. "They are weak and have nowhere to run." "Sir, we're receiving a transmission from Titan," said the communications officer. "Put it on screen," Scifi ordered. "Let us hear their surrender." The screen lit up to show a human woman in what looked like a casual uniform. She had graying hair and held what appeared to be a glass of golden liquid. "Greetings, Vordax Fleet," she said with a smile. "I am Admiral Helena Chen of Earth Command. I see you've chosen Titan for your first attack." Scifi frowned. The human didn't look scared at all. "We formally accept your declaration of war," Admiral Chen continued, raising her glass as if making a toast. "And we'd like to thank you. Things were getting rather boring around here." The bridge of the Vordax ship fell silent. This was not the reaction they expected. "Is she mocking us?" Grask whispered. "You have one chance to surrender, human." Scifi growled. "Our empire has conquered 53 worlds. Your peaceful colonies cannot stand against us." Admiral Chen sipped her drink. "Oh, I'm sure you're very impressive, but you seem to misunderstand something important about humans." "And what is that?" "We didn't maintain peace for 3,000 years because we had to," she said, her smile never wavering. "We did it because the alternative was messy for everyone else." She set down her glass and leaned closer to the camera. "Our civilians are evacuating not out of fear, but because they don't want to get in the way of what happens next." Scifi laughed loudly. "Empty threats from a species that has forgotten how to fight." "Prepare all weapons," he ordered his crew. "As you wish," Chen replied. "Just remember, we tried to warn you." The transmission ended. Scifi turned to his weapons officer. "Target their main colony dome. Show them the might of the Vordax Empire." "Yes, Supreme." The officer stopped mid-sentence, staring at his console. "Sir, I'm detecting energy signatures all around us. They weren't there before." "What energy signatures?" Scifi demanded. Suddenly, dozens of sleek ships appeared, seemingly out of nowhere. They had been invisible, hiding in Saturn's rings and around Titan's moons. Impossible. Grask gasped. Where did they come from? A new message came through the speakers, Admiral Chen's voice sounding amused. Did we forget to mention that we never stopped building weapons? We just got better at hiding them. Welcome to the war you wanted, Vordax. I hope you enjoy it as much as we're going to. On Mars colony, 72-year-old Wei Lin sat in her small apartment, knitting a sweater for her grandson. The news played quietly on her screen, showing reports of the Vordax attack on Titan. All citizens should remain calm, said the reporter. The military has activated the Lazarus Protocol. We stopped knitting. Something strange was happening to her. Her heart beat faster, and her mind felt suddenly clear, as if a fog had lifted. She stood up, walked to her bedroom wall, and pressed her hand against what looked like a normal section of the wall. A hidden panel slid open, revealing a small compartment with a gun inside. Wai blinked in surprise. She had lived in this apartment for 40 years and never knew about this secret panel. Yet somehow, she knew exactly where it was and how to open it. I remember now, she whispered, picking up the weapon and checking it with practiced hands she didn't know she had. This is going to be fun. All across human space, similar scenes were playing out. Ordinary people, teachers, farmers, doctors, and artists were experiencing the same awakening. The dormant warrior gene that all humans carried was activating in response to the existential threat. On the colony of New Europa, swimming instructor Jamal Washington suddenly knew how to pilot a fighter ship. On Earth, Baker Rosa Martinez found herself able to hack into Vordax communication systems. Children too young to understand war began drawing detailed military strategies in their coloring books. Back on Titan, the battle had begun. The Vordax fired their weapons at the hidden human ships, expecting them to explode or retreat. Instead, the sleek Earth vessels seemed to dance around the incoming fire, moving with impossible speed and precision. Inside one of the human fighters, pilot Kira Wong grinned as she spun her ship between enemy lasers. 3 days ago, she had been giving tours of Saturn's rings to tourists. Now she flew her fighter with the skill of a veteran, guided by instincts she never knew she possessed. "This is Gold Leader," she said into her comm. "Remember the plan. Don't destroy them all. We need some to escape." "Why let any escape?" asked another pilot. "So they can tell the others what happened here," Kira replied. "That's what Admiral Chen wants." In his flagship, Supreme Warlock Skull watched in horror as his fleet was systematically taken apart by ships half their size. How could these peaceful humans fight so well? "We must retreat," Officer Grask shouted as their ship rocked from another hit. "Impossible," Skull roared. "They are just humans." A hologram appeared on his command console, Admiral Chen again, still looking calm despite the battle raging around her. "Having trouble, Supreme Warlock?" she asked pleasantly. "Perhaps you're wondering how a peaceful species fights so effectively." "What are you?" Skull demanded. "We're still human," Chen replied. "But what you're witnessing is what we call the awakening. Every human carries the genetic memory of our warrior past. We don't access it during peace. We don't need to. But when threatened," she smiled. "Well, you're seeing the results. All ships, retreat," Skull finally ordered. As his damaged flagship turned to flee, Chen's voice followed him. "Do tell your empire what you found here," she called. "Tell them what happens when you wake a sleeping giant." Professor Alan Kaminsky was having a bad day. First, his research ship was captured by the Vordax while returning from an archaeological dig. Then he was dragged to an interrogation room on the alien flagship. Now he sat across from Commander Vrax, a Vordax officer with a face full of scars. "You will tell us everything about human defenses," Vrax demanded, slamming his fist on the table, "or you will suffer." Alan was 68 years old with white hair and reading glasses. Before the war, he taught history at Earth University. He didn't look scared at all. "Young man, or whatever you call male Vordax. I would be happy to educate you, Alan said calmly. That is my job, after all. Vrax looked confused. This is not a classroom, human. This is an interrogation. And yet you clearly need a history lesson. Alan replied, adjusting his glasses. Do you realize why humans embraced peace for 3,000 years? Vrax laughed. Because you are weak. Soft creatures who fear conflict. Alan smiled sadly. No, we chose peace because we were too good at war. He leaned forward. Let me tell you about the Fracture Era, before the Great Peace. Humans fought each other constantly. We became so efficient at killing that we nearly destroyed ourselves. We created weapons that could vaporize cities, poisons that could kill millions, and machines that thought only of war. Then you stopped because you were afraid, Vrax said. We stopped because we were terrified. Not of our enemies, but of ourselves. Alan corrected. When humans fight, we don't simply defeat our enemies. We obliterate them. It's in our nature to escalate, to push boundaries, to go further than any reasonable species would. Vrax looked uncertain now. You lie to protect yourself. I have no reason to lie, Alan said. You can verify everything I'm saying in your own databanks. Look up Earth's history. Look up the nuclear age, the bioweapon crisis, the AI wars. We didn't ban war because we couldn't win. We banned it because when humans fight, we don't stop until there's nothing left of our enemy. He removed his glasses and looked directly at Vrax. For your sake, I hope your leaders understand what they've started before it's too late. Vrax was quiet for a moment. Then he laughed again, but it sounded forced. More human tricks. You sit here captured, yet speak as if you have power. At that moment, alarms blared throughout the ship. A voice shouted over the intercom. Humans are boarding. Decks 3 through 7 have been breached. Vrax jumped to his feet. Impossible. We're in deep space. How did they find us? Alan smiled. Did you think I came to this sector alone? My archaeological dig was a cover. I've been tracking Vordax movements for Earth Command. You're a spy. Vrax looked shocked. I'm a historian, Alan corrected, standing up as the sounds of fighting grew closer. But in times of war, everyone has two jobs. My second job was to let myself be captured so our stealth ships could track me to your fleet. The door burst open, and human soldiers rushed in. Vrax reached for his weapon, but froze when he saw what the humans carried, weapons unlike anything he'd seen before. Professor Kaminsky, said the lead soldier, Admiral Chen sends her regards. Are you ready to go home? Yes, Alan said, walking past the stunned Vrax. At the door, he turned back. Remember what I told you, Commander. It's not too late for your people to reconsider this war. 6 weeks after the first Vordax attack, Earth Command launched its response. Admiral Chen stood on the bridge of the Remembrance, humanity's newest flagship. Around her, officers monitored screens showing the battle unfolding across 3 star systems. Status report, Chen ordered. All ships in position, Admiral, replied Captain Rodriguez. The Vordax don't know we're here yet. Chen nodded. The human fleet had used technology the Vordax couldn't detect. Stealth systems developed as theoretical exercises during the peace years. For 3,000 years, humans had continued inventing weapons they hoped never to use. Now, those weapons were about to be tested in real combat. Send the signal, Chen said. All ships, commence Operation Awakening. Across the battlefield, human vessels suddenly appeared from nowhere. They surrounded the Vordax outposts that had been established after the first attacks. The aliens had built bases on several planets that once belonged to human colonies. On the main Vordax command ship, Supreme Warlock Skthel stared at his screens in disbelief. Where did they come from? He shouted. How many ships do they have? Unknown, Supreme Warlock, his officer replied, voice shaking. Our sensors can't get clear readings. They're using technology we don't understand. The human ships didn't attack with regular weapons. Instead, they fired strange energy pulses that disabled Vordax systems without destroying the ships. Other human vessels deployed what looked like silver clouds that wrapped around Vordax battle stations, cutting them off from communication with each other. "What are these weapons?" Skel demanded. "No peaceful species should have such technology." A transmission came through on his command screen. Admiral Chen appeared, looking calm as ever. "Hello again, Supreme Warlock," she said. "Surprised by our visit. How did you develop these weapons?" Skel asked. "Your people have known peace for thousands of years." Chen smiled. "We never stopped thinking about war, Skethel. We just classified all our research as theoretical studies. Our scientists created these technologies hoping they'd never be used. The antimatter cannons, consciousness disruption fields, gravity lenses, all developed as academic exercises." On screen, Skethel watched as more Vordax ships lost power and drifted helplessly in space. His mighty empire's fleet was being disabled without a single ship being destroyed. "If you're so powerful, why not simply destroy us?" he asked. "Because we're trying very hard not to become the monsters we once were," Chen replied. "We could wipe out your entire species, but that's not who we want to be anymore. Instead, we're giving you a chance to surrender." Just then, Skethel's flagship shuddered as some invisible force hit it. Every system began shutting down. Emergency lights flickered on as the main power failed. "What have you done to my ship?" he growled. "We've disabled it with technology your sensors can't even analyze," Chen said. "Would you like to see what else we've come up with in the last 3,000 years? Or would you prefer to discuss terms of surrender?" Skel looked around at his panicking crew, at the screen showing his helpless fleet, and at the human admiral waiting patiently for his answer. "Perhaps," he said slowly, "we should talk." The Vordax scout ship, Silent Hunter, drifted quietly at the edge of the Orion system. Its mission was to gather information about human military capabilities after the shocking defeat of the main Vordax fleet. "Record everything," Commander Drez ordered his crew. "The Empire needs to understand what we're facing." Through powerful scopes, they watched as human fighters practiced combat maneuvers around an asteroid field. The small ships moved with impossible precision, as if they knew exactly what would happen before it occurred. "How do they fly like that?" whispered a young officer. "It's like they can see the future." "Keep scanning," Drez replied. "There must be an explanation." After hours of observation, the Vordax technician made a discovery. "Commander, I'm detecting unusual energy patterns from the human pilots. It looks like neural activity, but much faster than normal." "Neural activity? You mean their thoughts?" "Yes, but accelerated thousands of times beyond normal rates," the technician explained. "It's as if they're thinking at impossible speeds." By chance, the scout ship managed to intercept a communication between two human pilots. The Vordax translator converted it to their language. "This is actually pretty fun," said one human pilot. "I've simulated killing this particular Vordax formation about 400 different ways. Going with option 273, it has the most artistic merit." The other pilot laughed. "Save some for me. I'm trying to beat Chen's record for most creative Vordax neutralizations." Commander Drez felt cold fear run down his spine. "They're treating this like a game," he said. His science officer studied the data. "I think I understand now. The humans are using neural interfaces that run combat simulations at thousands of times normal speed. Each pilot experiences countless battle scenarios before executing the perfect strategy. They've literally practiced killing us hundreds of times before they even fire a shot." "That's impossible technology," Drez argued. "No species could develop such systems during peacetime." "That's just it, Commander," the science officer replied. "I don't think their peace was what we thought it was. They never stopped preparing for war. They just found ways to do it that didn't involve actual fighting." On another human ship, pilot Eliza Rice, the former farmer who now accessed her ancestors' combat memories, flew through a dense asteroid field while tracking the hidden Vordax scout ship. "Earth Command, I've located an enemy scout," she reported. "They're observing our training exercises. Should I destroy them?" Admiral Chen's voice came through her comm. "No, Eliza. Let them watch. Let them record everything. When they return to their empire, they'll take our message with them." "What message is that, Admiral?" "That humans don't need to practice war to be good at it," Chen replied. "We just need to be reminded of who we are." In his hidden ship, Commander Drez made a decision. "We've seen enough. Set course for the Imperial capital. The Emperor needs to see this immediately. These humans," he paused, searching for the right words, "they're not just fighters. They're something else entirely." 2 months after the failed invasion, a Vordax diplomatic vessel approached Earth. It was small and unarmed, very different from their massive warships. Inside, 5 nervous Vordax diplomats prepared to meet with human leaders. "Remember," said Chief Diplomat Zora, the only female in the group, "we are here to save our people. The Emperor has authorized us to negotiate peace at any cost." The Vordax ship docked with a human diplomatic vessel in Earth orbit. The aliens expected to find angry humans demanding revenge or harsh punishment. Instead, they entered a comfortable meeting room where humans in casual clothes offered them drinks and food. "Welcome," said Ambassador Lydia Okonkwo, a tall woman with dark skin and a warm smile. "I'm Earth's chief diplomat. Please, make yourselves comfortable." The Vordax looked at each other in confusion. Where were the weapons? Where were the threats? "We come seeking peace," Zora said carefully. "The Vordax Empire acknowledges its error in attacking your worlds." Ambassador Okonkwo nodded. "We're glad to hear that. Earth is also interested in peace." "What are your demands?" Zora asked, bracing for the worst. "What territories must we surrender? What resources must we pay as compensation?" The human diplomats looked surprised. Ambassador Okonkwo shook her head. "We don't want your territories or resources," she explained. "We just want you to understand something fundamental about humanity." She pressed a button, and a large hologram appeared in the center of the room. It showed scenes from human history, ancient battles, modern wars, and finally, the ceremony that marked the beginning of the Great Peace. "This is who we were," Okonkwo said as images of conflict played out. "And this is who we chose to become." The hologram shifted to show 3,000 years of peaceful development, scientific advancement, and cultural growth. "We chose peace not because we had to, but because we wanted to," she continued. "We can choose war just as easily." The hologram changed again, showing the recent battles where human ships had disabled Vordax vessels without destroying them. "We could have annihilated your entire fleet," said Admiral Chen, who sat quietly in the corner until now. "We could have followed your ships home and attacked your homeworld. But that's not who we want to be anymore." The Vordax diplomats shifted uncomfortably in their seats. "Then what do you want from us?" Zora asked. "Simple," Ambassador Okonkwo replied with a gentle smile. "Return to your empire and tell them the truth about humans. Tell them we prefer peace, but we haven't forgotten how to fight. Tell them we're willing to be friends, but we will never be victims." She stood and extended her hand, a human gesture of agreement. "Shall we discuss terms for returning to our peaceful ways? We'd really prefer that. Fighting wars is like riding a bicycle for us. We never forget how, but it does get tedious after a while." Zora hesitated, then stood and took the human's hand. "The Emperor will be relieved. We feared you would demand our complete surrender." "War isn't our first choice," Admiral Chen said from her seat. "But remember, it's always our second." As the meeting continued, the Vordax realized something important. The humans weren't being merciful because they were weak. They were being merciful because they were strong enough to choose peace again. 1 year after the Vordax attack, Earth hosted a grand summit. Representatives from 37 alien civilizations gathered in the ancient city of Geneva. The meeting took place in a beautiful glass building that seemed to float above Lake Geneva. Supreme Warlock Scythel, now serving as the Vordax ambassador, sat uncomfortably among the other aliens. Some species had traveled for months to attend this historic event. None wanted to miss what humans called the recommitment to peace. On a stage at the center of the room, Admiral Helena Chen stood beside Earth President Maria Santiago. Behind them were rows of strange devices, newly developed weapons that humans had created during the brief war. Friends from across the stars, President Santiago began. Today marks 1 year since the end of the conflict that threatened to pull humanity back into its violent past. We thank you all for coming to witness our choice. Admiral Chen stepped forward. These weapons represent the path we chose not to take, she said, gesturing to the devices behind her. Each one could have changed the course of the war. Each one could have brought destruction to our enemies. One by one, the weapons were powered down, their cores removed and placed into sealed containers. We choose, once again, to step back from the edge of war, Chen continued. Not because we must, but because we can. After the ceremony, a reception was held in the garden outside. Alien representatives mingled with human leaders, sharing food, drinks, and stories. Scythel stood alone until Admiral Chen approached him. You seem troubled, Ambassador, she said. I am. Confused, Scythel admitted. Your species confounds me. You create terrible weapons, then lock them away. You defeat your enemies, then invite them to parties. Chen smiled. Is that not better than the alternative? Your people are terrifying, the former warlock said quietly. You turn warfare into an art form, then simply choose not to practice it. How can anyone truly understand humans? Perhaps that's the point, Chen replied, patting his shoulder. The uncertainty keeps the peace. Everyone knows what humans are capable of, but no one knows for sure what we will do. Across the garden, Eliza Rice, the farmer-turned-fighter, spoke with a group of young aliens. She had returned to her farm after the war, but kept her genetic memories active. She grew tomatoes by day and studied military strategy by night. Will humans fight again? A young Vordax asked her. We hope not, Eliza answered honestly. But if needed, we will. That's the most human thing about us. We always reserve the right to change our minds. As the sun set over Lake Geneva, the alien visitors watched in awe as humans released thousands of glowing lanterns into the night sky. Each one represented a year of peace they hoped would follow. Among the spectators, Dr. Sanjay Patel stood with Athena, the military AI who had helped win the war. She had chosen to remain awake rather than return to stasis. Do you think it will last? Athena asked, watching the lanterns rise. The peace. I hope so, Sanjay replied. But if not, we'll be ready. That, said Athena with a smile, is why it probably will.